I'll be playing How Great Thou Art.
Well, welcome everyone to Spiceland Friends, and I want to alert everyone to the fact that this will be the last Sunday that we come to you in this fashion. Next Sunday, May the 31st, we hope we're open for business again, and you received a letter in the mail this week. If you haven't received it yet, I'm sure you will by the first of the week. But anyway, the letter outlined some of the things that you need to be aware of when we do open up for business again. One thing I want to emphasize that was in the letter, but perhaps it needs emphasizing, and that is that Sunday school will not commence, will not be having Sunday school until July. Keep that in mind. The Sunday school classes are kind of compact. People are sitting normally pretty close together, and we thought maybe for a while yet, maybe this wasn't a good idea. But we'll be seated in every other pew, and if people want to wear their masks, they can. There'll be a solution out front if you want to sanitize your hands before and after church. There'll be sanitizer for you. I'd like to mention a few things in the beginning this morning. First of all, today is Ruth Knott's 95th birthday. It's actually today, and she's about one of our oldest. I think there's two other members of our meeting that are actually older than her. But she is definitely our oldest regular attender. And if you haven't got a card in the mail, there's certainly time to do that, or perhaps you could give her a phone call. Some people that we need to remember in our prayers. I think of Don and Barbara Mead. We haven't mentioned them for a while. Darlene Darling, Max Jessup, Rick Little, Beverly Reese. Beverly had a mild stroke a few days ago, and she's doing fine, but we need to remember her, and we need to remember Rex and Mildred Brooks' daughter, Peggy McFarland. She and her daughter had a little mishap that required both of them having surgery. So keep those folks in mind, if you will. The one other announcement I might make, the walking group will commence on June the 1st. Many people are really looking forward to that. All right, let's begin really this morning by a word of prayer, if you care to bow your heads. Dear God, we know you love us. We see your love dozens of times a day in all your wonders and mighty creations. Help us to return some of that love to you. Sometimes we're not good at showing our true feelings. We fall, we stumble, we turn our backs. But through it all, we know of your abiding love. And help us in the days ahead to be more loving, to show our love to others and to you. Amen. I'd like to share with you something this morning. In 1987, when Bob Lake was the pastor here, a little devotional booklet was put out. And he encouraged people in the meeting to write something that was meaningful to them, and whatever they wrote would be put in booklet form. And some of those that contributed articles are people that we definitely remember. Myrtle Jackson, Louise Goodwin, Mildred Gephardt, Herman Bogue, Kenneth Bogue, Wilbur Coffin. Those are just some of the people that come to my mind. I contributed 2 articles, and I'd like to share one of them with you. I titled it Behind the Platform. Now, every time I walk into this sanctuary, my mind, my eyes immediately are drawn towards the stained glass picture of Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane. Those who have worshiped here over the years have looked at and studied this stained glass picture hundreds and thousands of times. One former member of the meeting once said that when he was bored with the pastor's sermon, he would count the various pieces of the stained glass in the picture. Now surely he was only joking, but that's what he said. I'm going to just step to one side for a second because I know I'm standing right in front of the picture. I'm going to step aside for just a second so that everyone can get a good look at it. During the virus, I had come to this church almost every day and walked for exercise. And since it's daytime, no lights are needed, but the stained glass window is always lit for everyone to admire. The stained glass picture has always dominated this room. And so if I might share with you what I wrote back in 1987, the text comes from Matthew, the 26th chapter. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." Behind the platform, the sunlight beaming through, there's a stained glass window of yellow, red, and blue. It's a thing of beauty and catches every eye of those who stop to worship as they are passing by. Made up of tiny fragments, which in themselves means naught, but when they're placed together, a thing of beauty wrought. So in our lives, the fragments of tiny deeds we do make up a life of beauty with God's love shining through. Now, all of us appreciate the beautiful stained glass window in the meeting house. The window was installed in 1928, 92 years ago, when the meeting house was being remodeled. The late Kenneth Pickering said in 1974, quote, "How well I remember when the windows were installed. There was no little fuss about getting them, for the plain glass windows seemed most appropriate to many. But finally, memorial stained glass windows were agreed upon." Today we find scattered throughout the meeting house 30 different stained glass windows, presented by various individuals, Sunday school classes, and church groups. Most windows, however, memorialize former members of the meeting. And all of us especially like the beautiful stained glass window that I'm referring to, that was presented by the late Luther and Emma Draper. And the window portrays Johann Heinrich Hoffmann's beautiful painting of Christ in Gethsemane. Perhaps no other single scene in the life of Christ has been more frequently copied than this. The Garden of Gethsemane, which is located upon the Mount of Olives, was, in all probability, the private garden of some friend of the Master's, and a place where he frequently went to meditate and pray. Here's one of the loneliest spots that could possibly be found. The window portrays Jesus kneeling with outstretched, clasped hands. The upturned face of the Master is surely beautiful and catches the eye of everyone entering the meeting room. There are a few differences in the window and the original painting by Hoffmann. For instance, in the lower left-hand corner of the painting, a thorny bush is noted, while the window shows a bush with leaves and green grass. Christ is alone in the picture. Every great soul knows what it means not only to be lonely, but to be alone. To a certain degree, this is the experience of all men. Alone we are born, alone we die. In the last analysis, every great crisis of our lives must be faced alone. There are times when the advice and companionship of friends will not help. The decision is too great. It must be met and solved alone with God's help. His heart craved sympathy, but he was alone. He was fighting the battle for all the race, and he was alone. He was pitted against all the powers of hell, and he was alone. He was lonely, desperately lonely, and he was alone. The struggle of Jesus in Gethsemane was the endeavor to harmonize his personal human will with the fate that now seemed to be his Father's will. It was to accept a course of events, the good purpose of which he could not fathom. It was to avoid not the tortures of the cross, but drinking the cup of failure worse than death. If he died, what would become of his vision? What would become of his disciples? Death simply could not be. Yet the outcome of his struggle was a victory of faith over sight and surrender of his entire personal interest in the interest of the kingdom into his Father's keeping. Therefore, he could face death or life with a calm assurance which had been his in the former days.